So it's yeah. Quite really hard here because that's the tarmac's so smooth.
Yeah.
You know it needs out there in their beam, but don't you? Give it a run.
Free transit.
That was fucking scary.
times, but it's always been static. So to see it on the hill is really, really good day.
Very, very much so, and as unusual rear flip-ups again, that's almost going back to the late 1960s when that was only in '68 that aerodynamic airfoils and things were put onto Formula One cars. They were Smolcombe corner, but yes, I'll need to look at that up more runs with it angling forward to help with the braking, a bit like the air brakes they had on the Mercedes back at the more in the mid-1950s. It seems as though someone's forgotten to put a few bolts in there, but obviously all worked out. I spoke to Alberto last year.
Carbon fibre, a bit more money, a bit more exclusive.
Very, very lucky passenger indeed. Going where the hill climb, of course, becomes a hill climb, but it starts going up the hill. Nice controlled precision there, but it needs to be quick because just behind it, and that's David Good, great racing driver. Lotus with Ant Anstead, isn't it? They've worked together on this project. So through the finish line.
Mid-engine, turbocharged, V6 engine, more than 600 horsepower.
I like it a lot because the MC12 was a fabulous racing car and won several championships, I think 3 years running. Really successful in FIA GT racing, but this very much a road version, but it's so lovely. Something about it, they suddenly get quite large, don't they?
Yeah, Cosworth developed engine. The project was co-led by Adrian Newey from Red Bull. It's an absolute monster, and it's amazing to think that a car with so much power, such a high revving V12 is entirely road legal.
I know, you have to pinch and read it several times. I like on the rear of this
again, kind of how we saw the Aston Martin V12 Vantage Speedster this morning. It's a drop top V12, no windscreen, rear wheel drive, big power. To drive one quickly, you've got to be quite alert, quite awake.
Well, Pat Blakeney at the wheel, he certainly went racing for a very long time. Active Ferrari display driver for a long time too. So a safe pair of hands. Ferrari Monza SP2, and we really appreciate the variety of these different cars. They're super dynamic, but what I love is they make different sounds and have different shapes. If it all went the same way, because the computer said so, it wouldn't be such a So through the finish line goes the SP2 Monza, flashing through those hay bales. When you're in one of these cars, you can't see over the top of the hay bales. It really does feel like a tunnel up there. Down the bottom of the hill. It's good enough for Tom. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's good enough for you, because what Tom doesn't know about racing cars isn't worth looking at. And after all the success of Audi, it sort of makes me smile a little bit that he's involved with the Porsche project, but he's looked at the base and built it up from there. Now, grown and grown and grown, and really is a truly astonishing assembly of cars. And it's the shop window, it's a dynamic shop window, and we're very much appreciative of that. This it's the 930 Porsche from Lanzanti Limited brought that, the 930 tag, so it's at the top of the window, can't quite see, but ironically it actually did leave the line quite quietly.
That is the slogan for this car, leave quietly, because it will be, again, we're getting into that time where these kind of cars will stop being produced. You can't build huge power V12 engines forever. So this is a celebration of
a high performance car, but ask yourself how much of that high performance you're going to use all the time. I think better than something a little bit softer sprung, certainly less in your face. Now, the Radford Lotus Type 62.2, catchy name, but Eric Quick on board.
Yeah, so this uses the same V6 that Lotus was using. It uses it now in the Emira, but also used in the Exige, but kind of pumped up.
An enormous, absolutely huge rear wing that appears to angle through the corners.
Yeah, this is a Zenvo TSR-S. So basically, when you're going through a corner, the rear wing will move to provide you enough support on whichever corner the car needs. Basically, just to improve downforce, improve grip, get you through the corner faster you would if the rear wing was just staying still. It's engine out over the back. Of course, Lanzanti will do everything possibly can to make it as drivable as possible, as fun as possible, but it's a very serious bit of kit.
It really is. In fact, there's nothing that's a flippant bit of kit here. He says as the most glorious McLaren goes past the window on up the hill, that's a P1 from McLaren Automotive. Aston Martin, big presence here at the Festival of Speed. They've always been staunch supporters. Which is this one in that glorious wheel? And yes, the passenger is there as well. They might have gone beyond their comfort zone at that point, but as the passenger, there's nothing you can do. But Yvonne producing a remarkable drive in that Rimac. They always did things slightly differently, but that was noise. Here's a replay, I think, yes, coming up a little bit sideways, even before it's got to the house, weaving around maybe, but well, actually, I think the game here...
He's backing it in.
Well, if I'm putting on astonishing, that was at the bottom part of the course. They came past us in the Remac at Moulcombe and then hung the tail out as well. Well, that's one for the fans, and might have spilt a few cups of tea in the hospitality areas, but special plus special.
So what it's just done there, it's gone from highway mode, which is just when you're cruising along, and now it's Mercedes supposed to get 5 times more downforce with everything, all these little louvers opening, the rear wing up in it as high as it was in the effort to increase downforce. It's got more than 1,000 horsepower, 1,063 bearing on road cars as well as race cars.
The thing to have.
That, everyone, is the Rimac Nevera.
Remarkably little adjustment to the wheel. The tail is out, that is all on the throttle. That's fabulous.
Well, it shows just how clever the calibration of all that is, because to slide an electric car like that with thousands of horsepower takes a lot of skill, but also a lot of knowledge.
So Jack Bartholomew at the wheel. Oh, he's a racer of Aventador LP784 Ultimate, the end of the Aventador run. A lot of letters, and in fact now has to back off because it's been so fast it's caught the previous car. 3 quarters of the way out the course. I think the previous car actually needed to slow down a little bit, but Jack's going to wind up again. But next time he wants a full run, clearly enjoying that very much indeed. And that's right at the end of the course. There's the finish, top of the hill climb, and in fact the car in front, it's not just any car, it's a one-off car. It's the Aston Martin Bulldog for more than 40. So still more cars down, assembling at the bottom of the course to come up this hill climb in the Michelin supercar run. First class cars as well that will be on the hill too. And they say what it does on the tin. It's your first glance. It's a world first glance. We've already had cars unveiled. Today we had the world launch, the global launch of the Ford Pro Electric Supervan, something dear to my heart because I remember the original one.
That badge series, essentially, we get lots of black trim all over the place. This is as close to a driver's Rolls Royce as you'll get. They try and make it a little bit more driver focused. It's pretty much on the bottom there. It's black, the black grille. Very different from a regular Rolls Royce Ghost.
Well, great to see that performance can come from a Rolls Royce. That's not the standard Rolls Royce road car, is it? Because you can see the suspension is very, very straight.
That's the thing, it looks very similar to the original. This is the A110 Tour de Course, which is a limited edition, but it's a car that a lot of people who just really enjoy driving really like. It's simple, it's lightweight, it's all about having low weight, not loads of power, it's just about the experience.
Now, I'm someone that loves a big grungy engine, but I also do appreciate the opposite of that, which is this. It's light, it's fun. It looks like a Jaguar at the back end. What are we looking at?
So this is from ProDrive, the ProDrive Hunter.
Let's go with it.
As well, you can just see the suspension underneath the car there. Slightly rolls, but it's all so controlled. The dampers on this would be such a high spec.
Yes, I think it's only when you understand the level of engineering that goes into this that you realise just that degree of expertise and the sort of incremental gains. Actually it's the opposite of an incremental gain as you try and find more and more performance from anything, but particularly something like this. We've got this enormous range of up and down, side to side, plus all that power being put down.
Well, it's fine having your wheels move around a lot if you're dealing with lots of big bumps, but of course you need to be controlled, otherwise you're just going to end up spitting yourself off the road. And this is the new interior as well. It's just so delightful. I'm actually struggling for words. It's such, because it looks back to kind of the Porsche interiors from 50 years ago. This cloth material, leather on it, this checkered patterns, it's beautiful, and a manual gearbox.
Where do I order one now? I mean, that sounds fantastic. I mean, simple is good. It's simple things, simple person. But if you're a Goodwood or not, if you're not this year, come next year. But you have to walk around the paddock, see where these cars are parked, and it is the detail. And I think particularly people like Porsche, when they go back and take ideas from previous cars, they like to echo back. Bear in mind, the Porsche 911 has been around for a remarkably large number of years and many occasions. But I think what could really surprise people when you look at, like I said, look at the interior of that, as well as the ducktail spoiler. And by skipping a generation, by skipping the 991 generation, it's not like a regular, like we expect in your GT3 and your GT3 RS and what have you, but we kind of
weren't really expecting this. We kind of thought the 997 was a one-off, so for this to appear is a real treat.
Yeah, and I also think cars that aren't cheap, you save up to them through your life, and when you've maybe got to a point where the money is either there or your expenses gone down, you want to buy a car, but you now might be 60 years old and you might remember the cars that 40 years ago or 50 years ago when you were a child, and if you can have some of those elements in, that is sort of really, really super special. There we are, I've talked about my desires for cars, but it is such a personal thing, and just looking at the car, prodigious performance, and they all do it in sort of different ways. I think there are rich pickings, and as we've had that Aventador as the last of its run, we are aware that it's not too long until we won't be able